Hey guys, Dr. Tammy here. Welcome to tonight's live. This is going to be total madness. I'm so excited that you're here. I'm trying to get my my screen lined up, but don't look yet because it's a surprise. super, super excited. In fact, I'm going to make a very bold claim, and that very bold claim is that if any of you have ever heard of all of this information before, and you're not a PhD in organic chemistry or the science, if you are just, just not really into much science, but just one of those people who really want to learn, if I don't teach you at least one thing new tonight, then I will give you a free hormone test kit. So, yes, you're welcome, Tacoma. Yes, you're so welcome. I'm not sure if that was the exact one that you wanted, but anyway, like I said, I'll do another one soon. So anyway, that's an interesting topic for sure about moods and hormones. So, okay. So again, my claim is that if you don't learn at least one new thing tonight, I will give you a free hormone test kit, which is our test kit for estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone to help you get your hormones balanced. So I think this is a very important topic because so many women get so frustrated because they make these resolutions for New Year's, right? We got through Christmas, and thank you so much for y'all being with me every night, like even Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. It was great because I got to spend time with my tribe. But it's so frustrating because we make these resolutions, which are really just promises to ourselves that we're going to do these things. And one of the biggest frustrations is weight gain. And so we promise that we're going to lose weight. And then what happens? We show up to the gym, we get a gym membership, we commit and we buy some weights, or we get a treadmill, or we say we're going to start walking. And then you go and you try and try and try, and you're thinking, this is madness. This is not working. And you are eating as clean as you can. And you think to yourself, oh my gosh, when I was younger in my 20s and 30s, all the things that I'm doing right now worked, but now they're not. And I don't understand. And I know I focus a lot on menopause because it's so much harder in menopause. And so we're going to focus on that. But I also want anybody who's younger, who has any kind of hormone challenges, estrogen dominance, PCOS, endometriosis, this applies to everyone who has a hormone imbalance. How do you know you have a hormone imbalance? If you're menopausal, you know, because you're not having periods anymore. If you're perimenopausal, you know, because your periods are all over the place, as well as your mood, as well as everything. Lipedema. Yeah, so we are going to talk about that. That absolutely can play in. Lipedema is what she mentioned, is usually fat that is different from the fat that you can actually lose. So it's inflammation in the fat tissue. And so anyway, and I do want to answer your questions. So you guys just throw them in. I might just jot them down to make sure that I get to them later. Just so I don't get, because everybody knows me. It's like rabbit, I'll just run with stuff. So, but yeah. And so how do you know if you're younger? You have irregular periods, heavy periods, PCOS, endometriosis, all those things. So I think we've just kind of said pretty much all of the population, right? Because we have so many chemicals in our environment and everything's a mess. But I want to sort of focus on after menopause. And I always have to preempt this by saying menopause is not the problem. The word menopause just means a year without periods. That means absolutely nothing. Nobody wants to have periods. That's not fun. I mean, if God had brought me in on the conversation about women having periods and I'd been part of that committee, I would have said, I don't think that's such a great idea. Let's not do that one. But I wasn't there. And I trust God that like he had a plan, right? So, but I also trust that God puts people like me in people's lives so that they can understand the chemistry. Because when you don't understand the chemistry, you are just frustrated and you're a sitting duck, I call it, ready to be shot, right? Just a sitting duck waiting and hoping and dreaming that someday that this will all fall together and work for you. So I know that that can be so frustrating, but I think that's one of the things, one of the gifts that I have is that I instill hope. And if I don't do anything else, if I can instill hope for you that there is a way around this, then I think that's very powerful. And I want to tell you that all of the things that I know that I'm going to share with you tonight, I know I'm doing a lot of teasing here, but all the things that I'm going to share with you tonight, I have learned over many years, decades working with patients and all the things that I do. And I'm telling you that because I practice what I preach. And I literally, if we're going to talk about weight loss, I'm going to talk about a lot of things related to your metabolism. But if we're going to talk about a healthy metabolism and weight loss, I will tell you, you can ask my family, my friends, I really don't ever think about what I eat. I don't think about, hey, healthy cow. I really don't think about the calories and things. I don't judge myself. I do all the things that I'm going to share with you tonight to keep balanced so that it's not hard. Now, yes, I do exercise. Yes, I do eat, I focus on protein and all those things. Hi, Lena Marie. I focus on all those things. But this science is what allows me to not be a freak about counting calories and living my life in chains. And I'm 55. I've been menopausal for 5 years. And these are the things that I know that I want you to know. Okay, so I've talked about it enough. I'm going to jump right into it. So here we go. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay, this is so cool. This is so awesome. Okay, so I'm going to start here, and I have a whole bunch of stuff on my screen, but I wanted to make sure that I cover things in a particular order. So I know this is really messy, but I'm just going to kind of go through things one by one. So the first thing we have to clarify again is that number one, estrogen is not bad. But you have to understand the chemistry of estrogen a little bit to know how your metabolism works and how to stay safe. And so the study in 2002 scared everybody and told everybody that estrogen was deadly, and about half of all the women on HRT threw their HRT, their hormone replacement therapy, in the trash. And we went from 60% to 30% in a year's time. And now we're less than 5% of women who are actually taking charge of all of the symptoms that happen with ovarian failure, which again, this is not menopause. That's the problem. Menopause is just a year without periods. The problem is that your ovaries completely shut down. It is ovarian failure, and 100% of women will go through it, whether it's surgery or natural menopause. And what that means is hormone depletion syndrome. And what that also means is that when that happens, the body has a way of making the wrong kind of, God doesn't make a wrong estrogen, but the wrong kind of estrogens that are working against you. So this is what you need to understand. Okay. So anyone who's in my tribe who follows me regularly knows that this is the graph I usually do. Okay, so just kind of focus here. I know it's messy, like my mind is messy. But if we put hormones on this axis, and let's say this is birth, this is your timeline of life, and this is 100, and this is 50, which is the average age of menopause. This is 35 to 50, which is the average age of perimenopause, just meaning the hormone erratic things that happen, right? When things aren't balanced. Okay. If you think about it for just a minute, oh, good. Thank you for sharing. Oh, yes. If you guys would share, if this is interesting information, if you tap the screen and give me some hearts, that sends it out to other people on TikTok and lets them know that we're having a good time, a party here. And yeah, if you would share it, I think that'd be awesome because this is good stuff. And I'm definitely, I'm kind of slow to get the replays out, but I'll definitely get the replay out of this because this is so cool. I love this stuff. Okay. So during this part of your life, these are hormones on this axis. So these are your ovarian hormones: estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, pregnenolone. I mean, all of the ovarian hormones. Okay. And once you hit here, your eggs, you are genetically born with all, the baby girl that's born has all the eggs that you'll ever have. Every month an egg's popped out, and if it gets fertilized, you have a baby, and if it doesn't, you have a period. So estrogen and progesterone do this dance, and estrogen makes the lining build up, and again, no fertilization happens of the egg, then the progesterone sloughs it off. And we do this and we do this and we do this for decades until we run out of eggs. And there are blood tests you can do, like FSH and LH and AMH. You could check those things to see if you have eggs left. But at some point, they just literally are done. The basket is empty. When that happens, everything shuts down. You stop having periods. The feedback hormones from the brain are done. But we would think you're made to believe that estrogen is bad, right? That estrogen causes cancer. Well, the problem is the quote, good estrogens dry up and go away. And the only one that is problematic is left. And that's the one that is problematic for not only your inability to lose weight and sabotage your New Year's resolutions on every level, make you depressed, make you angry, make you feel like you're PMSing all the time, but also dangerous, that could lead to breast cancer. When people hear me say estrogen is protective, you have to remember there are estrogens, plural. There are multiple kinds of estrogen. So when I say protective, what I'm talking about are the bioidentical hormone balancing estrogens. Okay, so if you think about, let's talk about weight loss, let's talk about metabolism. Everyone says, when I was younger, in my 30s, in my 40s, I never had trouble with this belly fat. So we're going to talk specifically about belly fat. I never had problems like this. And, you know, some people genetically have had weight issues their whole life. I get that. But most people will say, I never had this happen until after menopause, right? Or I never had this happen until I got endometriosis or PCOS, or until my hormones really started going crazy. Most everyone will say, when I was between 15 to 50, that this really wasn't a problem. I could exercise more and eat less, and it worked. And that's the premise. When you go to the doctor and you're having problems with your weight, that is the premise that doctors operate off of, because you would think that if science was what it was on the most simplistic level, calories in, calories out, right? And the interesting thing is that calories are not a unit of mass. It's not like this apple, it weighs this much, so it has this many calories, or this, you know, this piece of pizza weighs this much, so it has this many calories. Calories are a unit of energy, meaning how it is utilized in your body. So the calories in an apple are very different than the calories in a piece of pizza. They could be the same size or the same weight, but they act very differently in your body. Okay. So the reason I'm saying that is because the energy expenditure in the most basic level is, yes, the energy in, the energy out. That should work. So you're taking this energy form in, and then you're expending energy through exercise, and that should work. But here's the catch. This is why it doesn't work. So you know that when you're here, when you have hormone levels of a 30 or 40-year-old, it works. So why, when we flatline on our hormones out here, when our ovaries dry up, why doesn't it work? Okay, so that's where the mystery lies. So, interesting thing, and you guys who watch me know this hormone cascade, that your liver takes cholesterol, turns it into progesterone, converts it there, and converts it into estrogens. Okay, that's the plural of estrogens. I promise I'm getting to the point here in just a minute. So there are different kinds of estrogen. We have E1, E2, and E3. And we call them E1 and E2 and E3 so that we can delineate the different molecular structures. I know that's nerdy science, but that's important because they act very differently. So getting to know your E1, E2, and E3 can be very important. And I always teach my patients that this is such a unique area of medicine, and it is not taught in med school. I promise you. I know lots of doctors who have no idea what I'm talking about. And the first time I had a patient come to me, it was over 20 years ago, and she said, "Can you write me for bioidentical hormones?" And I was like, "What the heck are you talking about?" And so she showed me her prescription, and it had E2 and E3 and P50. And so that was the E2 and E3 for the estrogens and the progesterone and testosterone and pregnenolone. And I was like, what the heck is this? And that's very important, because if you don't understand that and you're just throwing blanket synthetic wrong kind of estrogen at somebody, you can increase their risk of disease. And this is where it goes. It's all found in the mystery of the belly. And so that is why you have belly fat. And it is why, if you don't understand these things and don't do it right, it's going to be forever, perpetually a challenge for you to have a healthy metabolism. Okay, so I kind of got this out of the way. And so I usually have the conversation at this point, and I talk about how estrogen, how the study in 2002 really sent out this information to the media, this sensationalism that just wasn't true. And so I always say, I beg anybody to show me, anything that I'm saying that is not true. I mean, bring it, right? I mean, I'll have this conversation with anybody. So anyway, just a bunch of crap came out of the interpretation of that study. It was a good study, very good, and gave us a lot of information. But when they took it to the news and scared everybody and made them think, that all estrogen was bad and going to cause breast cancer, they did a lot of harm in what was taken away from that study. Okay, so enough about that. So here's where you have hormones. Here's where you don't have hormones. Here is where you don't have issues with your weight. I mean, you do have some, but there's also a play in here with hormone imbalance. What's wrong with estrogen? Okay, we're going to get to that about estrogen. Okay, so I'm going to take this off just because this gets really messy here. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to talk about the belly. So when I'm talking about the different kinds of estrogen, your E1, E2, and E3, one of the interesting things that happens, I'm going to turn this just a little bit more so you can see. One of the interesting things that happen is you have two different kinds of fat. Okay, here, let's see. I want to make sure okay, don't look at me for a little while. I'm just going to do this so you can see the picture. Okay, cool. So this is what we call sub-Q fat, and this is the fat. This is a side view of somebody's belly. And this is the fat that kind of lines everything. So any of the fat that's under your skin or in your face, that's all sub-Q fat. So this is the muscle wall here. So the muscle separates that sub-Q fat. And this is what we call the visceral fat. Visceral means organ. So visceral fat is the stuff that lines the organs. And this is what they call the dangerous fat. But why is it dangerous fat? What is the problem? The problem is once you don't have ovaries anymore, so here's the ovaries down here, they're not here anymore. You still have adrenal glands, and I always say your adrenal glands are God's backup plan for your ovarian hormones. But the problem is that the adrenal glands make a hormone called androstenedione. And why is that important? Well, androstenedione is what we call androgen, or what we think of more as a male hormone. And so the male hormone, androstenedione, converts into something called estrone, which is this problematic estrogen here. Okay. I'm going to show you why it's problematic in a minute. But this happens in the visceral fat. And so it is this vicious cycle of taking this adrenal steroid male-oriented hormone, and this isn't males and females, but we're talking about females here. And there's an enzyme, which is just a chemical that converts into another hormone and converts primarily into estrone. So it is this vicious cycle of the adrenals sending this androstenedione in here with this enzyme and converting into estrone. So we have this massive estrone bag here. And so when we have that, estrone is, I'll look at you here. Estrone is the hormone that is very proliferative. It is the estrogen that rightfully scares everybody. And the problem is, now that your ovaries are gone, the only estrogen that you have now is the bad one. Okay, so again, God doesn't make a bad estrogen. It is a growth inducing estrogen. And if you're a 9-year-old girl trying to grow breasts, estrone is a great hormone to have. If you are a 55-year-old postmenopausal ovarian hormone failure, hormone depletion syndrome woman, estrone is very, very dangerous. And whether you take HRT or not, it is happening in your body. You are making a dangerous estrogen in your body in excess. Okay. So I know you're like, holy crap. What am I going to do about that? Well, I'm going to tell you what you're going to do about that. Jenny Jordan Burnside says, what if you still have your ovaries but low hormones? Okay. So that's a great point to interject this. So if you have imbalance, if you have estrogen dominance, you have estrone dominance. And I don't talk about this enough. I'm usually talking about just estrogen to progesterone. But the problem is it's not estrogen to progesterone. You have estrone excess. That is the problem. So let me explain a little bit more about estrone. So in a menstruating female, endometriosis, PCOS, you still have your ovaries, but you're tanked on everything or you're all over the place. This applies to you too. And this is why we're seeing girls younger and younger having hormone issues too. Can they isolate estrone? Isolate meaning on testing, or isolate meaning I'm not sure, Elaine. You might have to clarify that. So I'll talk about estrone just a little bit. But yeah, you absolutely can isolate estrone on testing. And the problem is good or bad, not problem particularly. How do you know what you have? Well, I can tell you that if you are postmenopausal in ovarian failure, you have more estrone than anything, because when we check your lab work, if you were to check my lab work right now, you would see that my estradiol, because I have no ovaries anymore, I didn't have them removed, they just died. I mean, that's what they do. They just die. Your ovaries literally just die. They shrivel up because you ran out of eggs in your basket, and you are there. Oh, research isolate. Yeah, absolutely. And we have urine tests, dried urine tests, all the things that can do all the metabolites. So I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But so the problem is, when you have these imbalances, what you're having is this dangerous estrone imbalance. And again, God doesn't make a dangerous hormone, but there are several factors that are happening to us that were not happening 20, 30 years ago. When you look back at old videos, everybody was skinny. And even when I look around, like I'll be on the beach and I will see people who are relatively fit, like even guys with muscles, but they've got that belly. And, this is one of the things that I noticed too. My son was super, super. So what we do, I'm going to tell you what to do. Hang on though. So my son was super skinny when he was little, and he was a very picky eater. And the only thing that I could get him to eat, and I hear mom say this all the time, because once those chemicals in the food touch the little kid's tongue, then that's all they want. They just get addicted to it, right? So we were doing chicken nuggets all the time, anything I could get this kid to eat because he was so skinny. And then one day I saw a picture of him in the car, and it was so cute because he had a little flower for me. It was so sweet. He picked it and he was bringing it to me. But he had a belly. He had like the cortisol belly that we think of, the cortisol belly. And I'm like, holy crap, which I'm going to talk about cortisol because that ties in here too. But I mean, like looking back at those pictures, that was the chemicals in the food. And that is what we're dealing with. So yeah, so I am going to tell you what to do, especially if you're postmenopausal. It's actually more easier to deal with postmenopause than it is for PCOS and endometriosis. However, they're all easy to fix. And that is what big pharma and mainstream big insurance hospital corporations who own the doctors don't want you to know. So you are in on the secret tonight. Okay, cool. Okay, so what happens is when the adrenals make this androstenedione through this enzyme called aromatase and making estrone, which is the dangerous estrogen, it also makes 3 different metabolites. So Elaine, this was your question. Can you isolate and check? We do a saliva test, which you can order that tonight. And we have our New Year's special that I'm going to tell you about, which I'm excited. But you can do the dried urine test, and we don't normally do that right out of the gate, but someone who's had breast cancer or high risk. And I cannot believe that doctors don't do this for women who've had high risk. And in fact, this is nuts because I have had patients tell me that they have been to breast oncologists, meaning breast cancer doctors, who have no idea what E1, E2, and E3 is. That is clown world. That is crazy. They are throwing people on chemotherapy, and the chemotherapy works on all these pathways. And they're, I mean, they don't even know what E1, E2, and E3 is. They just want to throw the chemo at you. I'm not saying don't take chemo. I'm just saying I think they should understand this. This seems very important. What happens when you had a hysterectomy and still take medicine for it? I'm not sure what medicine you mean. Yeah, Elaine says frightening. You might bring that question back around, dear, because I just didn't catch that. I'm in healthcare and not surprised, unfortunately. Oh, yeah. Anybody in healthcare knows that I am telling the truth. And I'm a medical doctor, and I can tell you I've been in healthcare since I was little. I was in candy striping, and my mom and dad were sick when I was little. And so I've been in hospitals my whole life. And I cannot tell you the level of corruption, the level of, even good, well-meaning doctors that are just stuck in the system and just taught a certain way. So anyway, I digress on that. Okay, so we're back to visceral fat. We're back to estrone. And the beauty is that, and these are the different breakdowns of the estrone. So you can do a dried urine. It's called the Dutch test, and we have that too, so we can do that. But I think that every woman at high risk should know that their levels of these. So I'll talk, Dr. Tucker on methotrexate for autoimmune lung issues. Okay, autoimmune is fascinating to me. I'll probably do a whole talk on that some night. So I'm here every night at 7:00 doing these, and as long as you guys keep showing up, I'll keep being here. My mom was on methotrexate for probably 30 years for rheumatoid arthritis. And so methotrexate is actually one of the cleanest, safest biologics. So anyway, I wouldn't be scared of methotrexate, but if you have an autoimmune condition, leaky gut is how you fix it. So you don't have to be on that forever. And had I known that from my mom, it would have been totally different. My mom was on that with RA too. Yeah. If I'd have known that autoimmune's in the gut and the immune system is what's tearing you up, tearing up your joints, tearing up your lungs, it would have been a whole different ball game. But I'm here and I learned a lot from it. So, okay. So everybody's scared of estrone now. So we have to talk about that just a little bit, right? And what we can do about it. So these are the metabolites of estrone. These are just big words that you don't need to know, but if you knew organic chemistry, you could see these molecules are hydrogen molecule on these other molecules. But this 2-hydroxysterone is protective, very important. This 4-hydroxyesterone is potentially harmful, and this 16-alpha-hydroxyestrone is proliferative. Proliferative, again, means growth, okay? So growth just means growth is good, right? You want to grow new blood vessels. You grow too thick a lining in blood vessels, and now you have risk of cardiovascular disease. You're a 9-year-old girl, you want to grow breasts, that's great. But if you keep growing breasts after you're a postmenopausal female, now you have turnover of those cells in the breasts, and then you have turnover of, potentially tumors and then potentially cancer. Is this test a genetic test? No, for these hormone metabolites, and you can't even see that, can you? I made it too small. I'm going to be better about that in the future. But for these metabolites, you can do a blood test. We do it in our office all the time. But the dried urine Dutch test, which DUTCH is dried urine test, is phenomenal to look at all your metabolites. And so I'm embarrassed to say, I just recently did the Dutch test and I'm still waiting on my results. So I will share that with you guys when I get it. I do know that I have very high estrogen levels. I had a tumor. I don't like to claim this, but I had an ovarian tumor with a few cancer cells in it. I had that ovary removed when my son was really little. And so it freaked me out when I did the blood test and I checked my estrogen levels. So I'm going to tell you what to do about it. But one of the things you can do, and if you need to leave the live, this is probably the most important thing, write this down. And that is something called DIM. DIM is the abbreviation. And I'll make you think I'm smart, but diethyl mendolamine. I memorized that word just so people would think I'm nerdy smart. Or as my fiance says, he's from the north. He says wicked smart, right, honey? He's my moderator. So yeah, I want you to think I'm wicked smart. So is H2 safe to take? H2. I'm not sure what you mean by H2. You'll have to bring that back around. I'll make a little note up here to address that H2 because I might learn something too from that. Okay, so what is diethylmendolamine? It's actually a little longer word than that. I kind of shorten it a little bit. But this is, just started DIM a few months ago. Oh, yay. Okay, good. So you know about DIM already. So it is a component of something as a chemical that is in green leafy vegetables, which is why women who eat a higher quantity of cruciferous vegetables have less breast cancer because it will decrease the estrone through the enzymatic processes. So a normal level of estradiol in the blood for a woman who is thankfully on bioidentical hormones. So my estradiol usually runs around 60. I would prefer it to be around 80, but I'm really sensitive to it. So 60 is a pretty good level. And my estriol level, that you can't really measure estriol in the serum very well because it has a really short half-life. And estriol is the estrogen that is like the hippie kumbaya estrogen. It is so happy and it is so lovely and comforting. And it's so comforting that it is like a blanket around estrone. And it just says, oh, get out, you're causing trouble. So estrone is like gets totally snuffed out by estriol. So the beauty is with bioidentical hormones and people who know about E1 and E2 and E3, they can give you E3 and it will totally block all the receptors on estrone, which is a game changer. Why women don't know this when they have a high risk of breast cancer, why they don't know this when they have endometriosis and PCOS, and all this estrone is just going nuts like wildfire. Like it's criminal. It is clown world that women don't know this. I know it's great, right? I mean, it's not great that it's happening, but it's great that you know about it and that you can share this information. And again, I know this is crazy. So I beg you to go do your research on this. So what is the medication? No, what? Missed it. Okay. Medication. I'm going to say the medication is estriol, but the medication is bioidentical hormones. And so you can get estriol in your bioidentical hormones. And I do that all the time. That's what my day job is. We put people on bioidentical hormones and we give them E3, the protective one. So like if you have any risk of any kind of cancer, you need to be on estriol. I mean, it's just, and DIM, right? Okay, so let me finish up on DIM here. I kind of skipped here. So when I check my estradiol levels, they're about 60. My progesterone levels run about 2 to 3, which that's normal. That's what they look. So, yeah, so I sometimes do blood work. I play around a little bit because I want to see the correlations, but the saliva tests correlate super well. So we do these. And if you can't get a doctor to check your hormones, or your doctor is not educated in these hormones and understands this, that's what we do. So, yeah, so my fiance, my moderator, is national. So we are everywhere. In fact, we just filled 20 kits. I had to go up to the office today because everybody's out for Christmas. I gave them the day off. And so it was just blowing up with our Christmas special. And so my son and I were up there filling kits today. So, and that's amazing because we're doing that like every day, I mean, it's like, we're filling kits. So it's wonderful. So people are getting tested. And if you stay till the end, I'm going to tell you our New Year's special. It's always really cool too for testing. I'm in New Jersey. I'm in Arkansas, but again, we are nationwide. It's all telehealth, telecoaching stuff. So we are everywhere. So I have hormone experts that I mean, when we were filling kits today, I saw New Jersey, I saw California, I saw Minnesota. I mean, it was just like we were kind of playing around with like all the states are like, oh my gosh, this is great. Okay. So when I check my estriol levels, because the half-life is so short in the blood, you hardly see anything at all, right? I'm always like, I want my estriol levels higher. But I mean, it's really, it doesn't really check in. Washington State, Heidi Page says Tennessee. Yeah, y'all are all over the place. So when we start filling your kit orders, we're going to say, hi, Tennessee. Hi, Washington State. I love it. Okay. So when I checked my estrone level, a quote normal estrone level that's not dangerous should be less than 80. Okay, less than 80. Mine was 260. I was so freaked out. Oh, Kathy's in Michigan. Hello, Kathy in Michigan. I was so freaked out. I was like, holy crap. And I only have one grandmother on my mom's side that had breast cancer. But I had cancer cells in my ovary that I got removed. And I'm like, nobody ever told me that this was a problem. And in college, oh, Dallas, yay. In Dallas, Dallas. Sorry, Brabant. In college, wow, that was a moment, right? I need to up my hormones, clearly. I had trouble with estrogen dominance. And so I had the belly fat and the hips. And so I was like, I didn't understand. And I was pretty active and thought I was doing all the right things, but I didn't know about this. So, oh, Maryland's cool. Hey, you guys hey, keep doing that. That's fun. I like seeing where y'all are at. Yeah, it's cold here in Arkansas, so I think, oh, where's somebody at that's warm? I'm thinking of you guys so far. We're all suffering in the cold together. Okay. So yeah, so my estrone was through the roof, and my estrone could have almost killed me. So North Carolina, hello, Louisiana, it's warm there. Okay, we're all jealous. Okay, so yeah, so I take DIM, and so DIM is one of the chemicals in green leafy vegetables, which are also called indoles. So 3-carbonyl indoles. We don't need to know all that nerdy science. But just remember, dim, kind of like dim the lights, dim that estrone, right? Okay. So, and it's really important to get good quality dim. And if you go to my link in bio, I think it's so important that you guys get quality supplements. So my link in bio has a bunch of freebies. So I have like a bunch of stuff I've written, not everything I've written, but like if you want to go and learn about the number one cause of hair loss and what you can do about it. I have a whole book there. I mean, it's just talking about hormones, talking about all this stuff. But there's also another section that has our shop page, and you guys have blown me away. One of the things I saw when I was up filling orders today was we had a bunch of people who ordered our fruits and greens. And I just mentioned this one night because it has like all your fruits and greens, your daily allowance, and your carbonyls in it, right? But it also has probiotics, and I'm real sensitive to certain probiotics. And I was like, man, you guys went to my link in bio and ordered a bunch of this. And so much that we actually ran out. So I had to send some people some of, I think it was the berry blast we're out of. So I sent people the strawberry kiwi or something like that as a present to like wait till we're like back in stock. So please don't order the berry blast just yet. Give me a couple days on that, unless you like strawberry kiwi. Okay, so DIM can help block that. DIM took my estrone down from 260 to 50. So that's nuts, right? So yeah, that's really important to me. And being 55, I definitely want to keep everything balanced. I have a son that's 20 and a beautiful fiance and a whole life to look forward to. And I sure don't want any kind of bad things to take me out. And I don't want to deal with belly fat. So here's the deal. If estrone is this vicious cycle that's happening in the visceral fat, and it is the only hormone after we are in ovarian failure, which is nuts, because if you didn't have a thyroid, would they tell you couldn't take thyroid hormone? But yet they tell you that you don't have ovaries, but you don't need ovarian hormones. Oh, and by the way, the only estrogen that you have in your body is the dangerous one sitting in your belly fat, and your belly fat's just making more and making more and making more every single day. And then we wonder why our risk of breast cancer when we're in ovarian failure after menopause, it's just a year without periods. And then we wonder why our breast cancer risk over the age of 60 is 1 in 8. You know, when I was a kid, like some lady got breast cancer in our town, and it was like, what is that? Nobody even knew what that was. And now it's like over the age of 60, you have a 1 in 8 chance of breast cancer. But when you're in your 30s and your estrogens, all your estrogens are very high, like you have like a 1 in 200,000 chance of getting breast cancer. I mean, it's just, but now it's more prevalent because, and here's the craziest thing of all of this, is that we have all these chemicals in our environment that are exactly like estrone, and we call those xenoestrogens. And those are the breakdown byproducts in our plastic water bottles, in our food supply. We have stuff in our food supply that is outlawed in other countries. There's like 15 chemicals that aren't even allowed in other countries. So those xenoestrogens are really, really, really messing with us. And here's the other thing, causes fibroids to grow and large and period. Okay, I'm gonna do fibroids. I wanna make sure I get that because that's important. Where was I going with that? I start. Oh, okay. This is the important thing. If you haven't heard anything else I've said tonight, come in closer. Okay. The study in 2002 that totally scared everybody, that half of the women in the whole US threw their birth control, or not that, well, maybe the birth control, I don't know. No, they didn't scare you with birth control. It was just after menopause. And these women were 10 to 15 years out from menopause. So they were in their 60s. They threw their HRT in the trash. And then everybody else, after they went through menopause, did too. We're down to 5% women in the US, which is my dream, just to have 50% of women on the safe hormones, right? And T3 was low at 20, T4, TSH, testosterone 22. Okay, so she's talking about thyroid stuff. And oh, Crown Lips, I forgot what your name was again, but if you will inbox me that, I'll give you some more information on that. And definitely we'll revisit some thyroid stuff. And the interesting thing, while you're talking, oh, hi, Misty, sorry, I won't forget again, I promise. The interesting thing is that thyroid, it's not the other estrogens that mess with your thyroid, which is why after ovarian failure, hormone depletion syndrome kicks in, that we start to have so much trouble with our thyroid, because estrone specifically throws thyroid off track, which then causes us to gain weight everywhere, because thyroid is our pilot light in the cells that actually do the burn. Remember when I said calories in, calories out? Calories are a unit of energy, and thyroid is the hormone that makes the protein that kicks on the furnace. And so if all you have is estrone, thyroid will never be able to relight its pilot light. We just had our somebody was digging down the street and hit the gas line. And so the worker had to come turn our pilot light back on. And we were out, and there was a tag on the door that said emergency, call this number. And I was like, oh man, we missed him. Like, and then I'm thinking, is our hot water heater on the pilot light about the gas? I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, it's like, and our body is doing that too. Our body is like, sound the alarms. This is emergency. Our pilot light is out. Misty said estradiol 470, total estrogen 734. So when you have estrogen dominance, estradiol and estrone act a little bit separately, but the problem is, my link is in bio. So if you go back to my main page, you don't want to leave it live right now because I got some more cool stuff to say. But when this is over, if you go to my link in bio, it goes to a link tree, and that link tree has all the shop page. It has all my freebies, linked to the website and all the things. So it's cool. Okay. So the problem is that estradiol can convert into estrone. So when I do these E1, E2, and E3, I'm going to do this. Can you see this? Okay. So I'm going to do this a little bit bigger. E1, E2, and E3. Okay, so E2 is more of a neutral estrogen, but it can convert into E1, and E1 can convert into E2. And remember, this is the, quote, proliferative bad guy that can convert into these problematic ones. So if I drew a line, I won't because I get too messy, but that are the potentially harmful and the proliferative. And then the protective is a breakdown of the E3. So E3 is like a big blanket that can go over here on E1 and pretty much knock out its effects, which means you knock out its effects on its ability to keep making more belly fat, which is super cool, but also to prevent cancers and all sorts of other things too. Your adrenals are still making a little bit of this androstenedione, which then goes to the liver. So I have to make sure that we address the liver a little bit because this is very, very important here. Oh, hearts to you too. That's cute. Because the liver actually does most of this hormone conversion, and the liver makes most of your cholesterol. And people think that cholesterol is just a fatty globule ready to cause a heart attack. It is not. It is not at all. It is not what causes heart attacks, which is what they want you to think when they want to throw you on a statin. How do you increase your E3 just with HRT? Yes, that is how you, it absolutely is. Yeah. So I'll tell you about that in just a second too. But cholesterol is actually important because it's a prohormone that makes your progesterone, your estrogen, all your ovarian hormones. Okay. Your adrenals make DHEA mostly, and that DHEA is what converts into this, which then makes your estrone. So the work of the adrenals for the stress that it has to take on when it's also regulating your blood pressure, your blood sugar, and making metabolites to make more estrone, unfortunately, after your ovarian failure happens, the work on your adrenal glands now puts stress on your ability to make cortisol. So cholesterol has a side pathway that makes cortisol. And if your liver's not healthy and you drink a bunch of alcohol, don't get me wrong, I like a good glass of red wine or Prosecco. But if you have really put a lot of chemicals through your liver, which most of us have because of the environment, then if your liver's not healthy, you're not going to convert your hormones properly. And then cortisol, which is your body's natural anti-inflammatory, then you get inflammation. So when you talked earlier about lymphedema or lipema, the inflammation in the fat, that makes that worse too, because inflammation. Now, if you have inflammation, your joints hurt, inflammation in your heart, you get heart attacks, you get inflammation in your brain, you get dementia. So, lipedema, yeah. So inflammation in the fat cells, basically, usually that kind of collects in the legs. So inflammation is bad. And inflammation, we call it inflammaging. So it causes all the things of the processes of your body that cause aging. So we don't want that. And so, yeah, so things to detox the liver. I love milk thistle. Usually I'm drinking dandelion tea at night because it's so good. And it's crazy because especially when you have chemical sensitivities as we get older and our liver's not working, dandelion tea will like totally reverse any kind of hangover, anything, trust me. So that's really cool because I'm really sensitive to that now. Yes, Oliver now, stage 3, 4. Okay, good. Okay, so I also wanted to tell you that all of this talk has been pretty much dogging on estrogen. Here's the scariest thing of all. Oh, I started to do this a while ago because I moved in and I said, focus. This is crazy. Okay. When they did this study in 2002 that made everybody throw their hormones in the trash, dandelion tea, yes, made throw their hormones in the trash. Okay, I have to draw this picture. I know I'm keeping you in suspense here. Okay, this is gonna blow you away. I promise. I have to do this. This is so messy. Okay. Oh, new marker. Okay, I draw this picture all the time, right? From birth to 100, menopause at 50, hormones, flatline. Okay, the study they did in 2002 took women 10 to 15 years out from menopause, age 65 and above, put them on just estrogen for the most part. They kind of brought progesterone in later when they started to see, hey, no fair. You're cheating. You're giving everybody the answer. Yes, synthetic hormones. But here's the problem. It was synthetic hormones. They put them on hormones out here so they didn't have any of the protective benefit here for 15 years. And then, wait for it, they put them on synthetic hormones, but guess which one? It's going to freak you out. E1, Premarin, pregnant mare urine. And then they made a synthetic version of it, and it was straight up estrone. And I have dogged on estrone all night. And now you can see why they got freaking breast cancer and they scared everybody. But even at that, yeah, I know, it's crazy. Even at that, it still wasn't what the media took away, because your body still has the protective things. God made you perfectly. And all these toxins that you take in every day, your liver is beautifully made to handle most of it. I mean, yeah, some of us get sick and fat and die and all the things, but for the most part, we are beautifully, perfectly made. And if we take care of what we have and we know this information, we can override all this crap they're doing to us and taking away from us. But yeah, so the beauty is there's totally a way to fix most of this. One would be that we stay away from all the xenoestrogens. One would be, I take NAC to detox. Yes, detox, great. NAC, there's a whole bunch of supplements. And somebody asked me earlier if you can get DIM on our site. I don't have it on the TikTok shop, but if you go to our shop Hormone Bliss page, we do have, it's called our menopause support. So it is there. And if you come into our program, which is where we do all of this and help people, we help you with that too. We help you with your supplements. And that's one of the beautiful things I truly believe from a functional medicine standpoint to get you healthy is we have to address all of these things, right? And so that's where it becomes the beauty of the science, but also helping understand. And that's why I always say, this is not only life-changing because women are walking around miserable, brain fog, weight gain, tired, just losing their beloved minds. They're stressed out, anxious, angry. not sleeping. Their skin is wrinkling. They're peeing their pants. They're dried up. They're literally dying. Their hair is falling out. It's just unbelievable how we are suffering and we don't need to. And we are being put at great risk because we don't know what to do about it. And so it's so important that you get somebody who knows what they're doing. Okay, so how do you sign up for the program? Okay, so the first thing we do, and I was really torn whether we would just kind of do consultations, but I really find that if people know that their hormones are out of whack first, it really helps us carry the conversation. And even when people do the test, they still sometimes are like, I don't know, because the narrative is out there telling you that hormones are dangerous and hormones are bad. And yeah, if you don't get them balanced, they absolutely can be, right? So, optimal levels E2 and P and T for a 57-year-old. Okay, on the blood, what we normally do so that we can send this to your house, so you don't have to beg a doctor to do it and you don't have to drive to Arkansas to see me, it's a saliva test. But an optimal E2 would probably be 60 to 80. Optimal progesterone would probably be 2 to 4. And a testosterone, it kind of depends on how high you want your testosterone. I like my testosterone around 100, but I don't actually take testosterone. I take DHEA, which gets my testosterone up just fine. But I shouldn't say that because I like testosterone, but I don't really find that I need it. I feel great with DHEA, but most women feel good with testosterone around 60. So that'd be a good range and build muscle and all the things. So without DHEA, my testosterone is like 0. But I really like DHEA. But sometimes if I want, if I get serious about some strength training or something, and we provide testosterone in our program too. A lot of doctors don't think women need testosterone, and that's just stupid. Only 22. Oh, yeah, girl. Yeah, especially, if someone is still scared of hormones because they haven't heard this talk tonight, then at least testosterone. At least get some, perfusion to your brain, or your muscles, those kinds of things. So, yeah. So the biggest thing that you can do is get some E3, which covers up E1, which tells it to chill out. And so when we do hormones, when we do the test, then we get on the phone with you. One of our experts gets on the phone with you. And then we immediately get you on some E3 and some E2 and some testosterone, some progesterone to help you sleep and balance all that out. And if you are still, E2 only 25. Yeah, you need more. So I'm confused now. Normal range. Oh, like don't even go by normal. What is normal, right? If you don't have ovaries anymore, they'll tell you that 0 is normal, and that's not normal, right? So, yeah, that's not cool. Limited because I have the factor 5 gene. Again, estrone is the problem, and it puts you at more risk. So if you have estriol, to block your estrone, it actually decreases your risk. And please don't take my word for that. Go look that up. The science is all there. You have to go a couple pages down in Google, but would be absolutely protective for you, especially if you go with a cream or a topical route. Sometimes we use patches and sometimes we use stuff under the tongue, but so biased cream 80-20 or 50-50. I usually go like an 80-20. Most of our creams are an 80-20. DHEA is over the counter. You do have to watch for quality. Started the cream, good. What is tested in the kit? So we test estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. So this is literally just a screening test because we want women to see, oh my gosh, I'm a mess. And then when we get on the phone with you, we can show you what your levels are. So this is really easy. And then, depending on what we want to test later, we can do the dried urine, we can do a blood spot, we can send you to a Quest, a draw serum. There's so many things that we can do. what is milligrams of DHEA? I take 25. But I have a really quality that I get from a compounding pharmacy, really high quality DHEA, and it's a sublingual under the tongue. So, I mean, I would not get my DHEA from Walmart at all. Are the kids FSA? Yes, they are. Yes, so you can use your FSA or your HSA, depending on what you have. And our whole program is approved as well as a medical program. So, yeah, absolutely. A lot of people don't know that. I forget to tell people that because we don't take insurance because insurance don't care about you feeling better and they just want you on their big pharma. So, you have to kind of get outside the box a little bit and invest in yourself just a little bit. So, um, yeah. So, somebody asked me about fibroids. Fibroids are estrone gone wild. What was that show? They used to have Girls Gone Wild or something like that. Estrone gone wild, fibroids, PCOS, endometriosis, uterine cancer, breast cancer, you name it. Estrone is not your friend. And these metabolites of estrogen, this hydroxysterone, the 4-hydroxyestrone is like the really scary one. So, yeah, you don't want that. And estriol blankets all of it. So that's so easy. Do we use compounding pharmacy on our own? Nope. We compound everything. We tell you exactly what you need. We check your levels. We work with you. You have unlimited access to our experts if it's not working. And I always say, we always get it right. Not the first time. Well, sometimes the first time. But if you stay the course with us, we always get it right. That is my commitment. That is my heart. I have never had a patient. It might take me a minute, but I've never had a patient, and my protocols are all written, which is I can't see everybody, which is why our experts do it. But my protocols are written so that it is very adaptable and it is based on each individual. And so sometimes when a woman just feels like they have someone who listens to them, I mean, that is everything. A doctor that has their hand on the door for 5 minutes and you're like, well, my insurance paid for that. It's like, okay, you get what you pay for, right? So, yeah. So I know I'm coming up on the end of my hour. I love you guys so much. I hope that you learned something new tonight. And again, my offer still stands. If you didn't learn anything new tonight, I will give you a free kit. So you just DM me. So hopefully you did learn something new tonight. I love blowing you guys away. I love sharing information and new stuff. So we just finished our Christmas special, but because we are, I'm here every night at 7 o'clock. I'm bored. I don't have anything else to do. No, I totally do. But I think this is so important. Thank you, Elaine. I appreciate that. How do I order the kit? Okay, go to my link in bio. And so you'll have to leave this page and go to my main page. And then you can, I just saw another comment. Sorry. Go to my link in bio and you can order the kit there. And then the next step is we ship the kit out to you. This preliminary test kit is a saliva. I don't know if I did with my tube. Anyway, you put your saliva in the tube. You answer this questionnaire, and people don't realize. I did the Advent, the 25 days, the countdown till Christmas, and I did 25 symptoms of menopause. But this is nuts. When you start looking at all the symptoms, frozen shoulder, arthritis, urinary incontinence, depression, anxiety, sugar cravings, ringing in your ears, stamina, water retention, just all the things. So anyway, we ask you all of that. So this is really important because we look at your labs and compare that to your symptoms because we don't treat numbers, we treat people, but the numbers are important. And it's like, some people are like, oh, you don't need testing. It's like, you wouldn't put somebody on thyroid hormone without testing their thyroid hormone levels. I mean, that is just madness. So, come on. Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed that. Okay, cool. Well, you'll have to go back and watch this live if you missed it tonight because it was some crazy, crazy stuff, right? Okay. So, anyway, our special for New Year's is, I think 129. Yeah, so it's 129. And go order a kit and share this with someone you love that could be high risk for breast cancer or weight gain or belly fat. And so the whole thing is that the talk was based on before you go breaking your own heart and breaking promises to yourself by saying, this is the year I'm going to get healthy and lose weight. And you go kill it at the gym and have a big expense and then never want to go because it's like you're exhausted. Yay, order my kit. Yes, I love it. And you're exhausted and you're like, forget that. I don't even have the energy to get out of bed, but you feel compelled to, step into this regimen. Don't do that until you get your hormones balanced. Don't do that till you get your estriol, cover in the blanket of the estrone and calm that estrone down and get on some supplements. Where do I learn? Please. So yeah, so my link in bio has all our website, all our information. You can order a kit there, and then that's the starting point because my thought was, do we just, do consults with people and then testing, but it really works to have the test first so that we can see what we're dealing with. And so, yeah, the kits are only $129. So get one for a friend. We did the Christmas special, and we had so many people buy for their friends or sisters, or I don't even know who all they were buying for. So, yeah, just pretty much kits in the basket, right? So, but yeah, I love it. So this could be not only life-changing, but life-saving. And that is my passion. So yes, I'm here every night at 7:00. I drink tea because I get hoarse talking so much, but yeah, so in between writing books and hanging out with my family and stuff, I'm here. If you buy the kit, the cost included is the results and the consult with our hormone experts. And all of my protocols, they have all of them. They are just geniuses. I feel like they're little mini me's, carrying everything out and dosing everything for you. So our programs vary kind of depending on what you need. So, I'm not trying to not be transparent, but, your financial needs, and you have HSA, FSA. I mean, if you do, if you want to do chunks of time or whatever. So we work with everybody, and it is so exciting to be able to do this. And I'm so glad that I found TikTok. I feel old, like I don't know all these TikToks in and outs and stuff, but it is a great platform to get my message out. So tell women it's not menopause. That's just a year without periods. Please don't use that terminology anymore. Use ovarian failure. Use the words that it is. That is the problem. And tell that estrone to calm down and stop causing your trouble and stop causing the belly fat and stop putting you at high risk. And anyway, all the things. Okay, love you all very much. I have a great topic for you tomorrow night, but I'm going to surprise you with that. So stay tuned, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Mwah.